Once upon a time, in a kingdom known for its power and discipline, there ruled a wise and courageous king. Among all his treasures, armies, and golden crowns, there was one companion he valued more than anything else: his mighty elephant. This was not an ordinary animal. He was a warrior, a legend, a symbol of strength. In battle after battle, when enemy armies marched forward with loud cries and shining weapons, it was the thunder of this elephant's footsteps that made their courage tremble. The earth would shake beneath him. His roar echoed across the battlefield like a storm rolling across the sky. Soldiers found hope when they saw him. Enemies felt fear before swords even clashed. Many victories were written in history because of his bravery. The king did not see him as just an animal. He saw him as a loyal friend, a protector of the kingdom, and a living emblem of pride and honor. Years passed, as they always do. Seasons changed. Leaves fell and grew again. The king's hair slowly turned gray, and the mighty elephant, once young and unstoppable, began to feel the weight of time. His steps were no longer as fast. His body, once full of unstoppable energy, moved more slowly. He had earned his rest. The king, grateful and loving, ordered that the elephant should never again see the battlefield. "He has given enough," the king declared. "Let him live the rest of his days in peace." A beautiful area near a quiet forest pond was chosen for him. There, surrounded by gentle trees and soft winds, the old warrior would spend his days resting under the sun, remembering victories of the past. The elephant accepted this new life calmly. He no longer carried armor. He no longer heard war drums. Instead, he heard birds singing. He no longer smelled dust and iron from battlefields. Instead, he smelled fresh grass and cool water. But deep inside him, beneath the calm surface of old age, there still lived the heart of a warrior. One warm afternoon, when the sun was high and the air felt heavy, the elephant slowly walked toward the pond to drink water. The surface of the pond shimmered like silver under the light, but the ground near the edge had become wet and muddy from recent rains. The elephant, tired and thirsty, stepped forward without noticing how soft the earth had become. His massive foot sank slightly. He shifted his weight to steady himself, but that second step sank deeper. Within moments, the mud began to pull him down. At first, he did not panic. He had faced enemies stronger than fear itself. He tried to lift one leg. The mud sucked it back. He tried to push with his strength, but the more force he used, the deeper he slipped. His large body, heavy with age, began to sink. The calm pond that once reflected peace now stood as a silent witness to his struggle. He let out a powerful cry, not of anger, not of battle, but of helplessness. The guards nearby heard the sound and rushed back to the palace. "Your Majesty," they shouted as they entered the royal court. "The great elephant, he is trapped in the mud near the pond." The king's face turned pale. His heart pounded in his chest. Memories of victories, of loyalty, of shared journeys flashed before his eyes. "Prepare everything," the king ordered immediately. "We must save him." Ministers, soldiers, workers, everyone rushed toward the pond. Ropes were brought. Thick wooden planks were carried. Some tried to tie ropes around the elephant's body to pull him out. Others tried to push heavy logs beneath his feet. But nothing worked. The mud was stubborn. It clung to him like an invisible enemy, refusing to let go. The more they pulled, the more the elephant struggled. And the more he struggled, the deeper he seemed to sink. Fear began to spread among the people. Whispers of doubt filled the air. The queen stood beside the king, her eyes filled with worry. "Will we lose him?" she asked softly. The king could not answer. His throat tightened. Tears gathered in his eyes. This was not just an animal sinking in mud. This was a hero fading before him. Just then, from behind the anxious crowd, the oldest minister slowly stepped forward. His back was slightly bent with age, but his eyes were sharp and calm. He had seen wars. He had seen victories and losses. He observed the scene quietly for a moment. Then he turned to the king and spoke gently. "Your Majesty, ropes will not save him." Strength will not save him. The king looked at him with confusion and desperation. Then what will? He demanded. We cannot just watch him die. The old minister bowed slightly. We must give him what he has lost, he said. Not strength from outside, but strength from within. We must remind him who he is. The king frowned. Explain. 20 years ago, the minister continued, when enemies surrounded us, what gave him power? What awakened the fire in his heart? It was not ropes. It was not wood. It was the battlefield. A strange silence fell over the crowd. Create the battlefield again, the minister said calmly. Let him hear the drums of war. Let him hear the horns. Let him remember. Though confused, the king trusted the wisdom of his oldest advisor. Do it, he ordered. Soldiers immediately formed lines around the pond. War drums that had not been touched in years were brought forward. Horns were lifted high. Flags were raised. The air that once held fear now began to tremble with a familiar sound, boom, boom, boom. The rhythm of war drums echoed across the water. Horns cried out loudly, piercing the sky. At first, the elephant remained still, exhausted and sinking. But then something changed. His ears moved slightly. The sound reached deep into his memory. The drums, the horns, the rhythm of battle. His eyes, once filled with tiredness, slowly began to shine. The mud around him had not changed. His age had not changed. But inside him, something awakened. He remembered charging into battlefields. He remembered enemies fleeing at the sound of his roar. He remembered the king riding proudly upon him. He remembered who he was. A deep breath filled his lungs. His body trembled not from fear, but from awakening strength. With a powerful cry that shook the air, he pushed one leg forward. The mud resisted. He pushed again, harder this time. The drums grew louder. The soldiers shouted war cries. The king watched with wide eyes. With one final burst of energy, the mighty elephant gathered every ounce of strength left inside him. And slowly, steadily, he lifted himself out of the mud. First one leg, then another, until finally he stood free. The crowd fell silent in disbelief. No ropes had pulled him out. No wood had supported him. It was his own memory, his own spirit, his own courage that had saved him. The king ran forward and placed his hand gently on the elephant's side. Tears streamed down his face, not of sorrow, but of overwhelming pride. You are still my warrior, he whispered. That day, the kingdom learned something powerful. Even the strongest among us can face moments when we feel stuck. Even heroes can feel helpless. Age may slow the body. Challenges may trap us like mud. And sometimes, no outside help seems strong enough to pull us out. But true strength does not disappear. It sleeps. It waits. Inside every person lives a memory of victory. A moment when you overcame something difficult. A time when you were brave. A day when you did not give up. Sometimes life's mud makes us forget who we are. We struggle harder and sink deeper. We think we are weak. We think it is over. But maybe what we truly need is not more force from the outside. Maybe we need the sound of our own inner drums. Maybe we need to remember our past battles, the ones we already won. The old elephant did not become young again. The mud did not become soft. The world did not change. What changed was his belief. The reminder of his identity awakened his hidden power. In your own life, there may be days when you feel trapped. Stuck in problems. Stuck in fear. Stuck in doubt. The harder you try, the deeper you feel you sink. People may try to pull you out with advice, pressure, or force. But sometimes, the real rescue comes from within. Close your eyes for a moment and remember your victories. Remember the times you thought you could not survive, but you did. Remember the days you felt broken, but you stood again. That memory is your drum. That memory is your war horn. You are not weak. You are not finished. You are not defeated. You are a warrior who may have forgotten the battlefield inside, When life feels like mud around your feet, do not panic. Do not lose hope. Instead, awaken your spirit. Remind yourself who you are. Remind yourself what you have already overcome. Because courage is never destroyed. It only waits for the right sound to rise again.